Good morning and welcome everybody to Middle Earth Readings with me, Maggie Rose Cunningham, in which we explore the planetary movements through the runic wheel for the week ahead. And I'm also going to be doing readings for those of you who have shared your rune of the week, either ahead of time, because I know we have the lovely Suzanne, so she's been gathering them up for you, or for those of you who are live, apologies that I started a little bit late. Various reasons for that. Hopefully the car is being fixed as we speak by a very good friend who has come over to help. But we are good to go now. So, where are we this hi Karen, lovely to see you. The theme that I'm going to be exploring today is around diving and emerging. There are two planetary movements that we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at Frigg's chariot, so that's equivalent of Venus, moving into Thurisaz, the rune of victory, the rune of Tyr. It's the first rune of the third of the eights. If I could work out numbers, I would, but I can't at this moment. For some reason, my brain's not working. 17. I want to say rune 17. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that front. And we're going to be looking at that. And we're going to be looking at the full moon that's coming up, which is in Thurisaz. It's a really powerful, potent full moon. And what I'm reminded of is we had Tyr's chariot, so that's the equivalent of Mars, was in Largus. I want to say towards the end of the summer in 2022. And it was a very strong imagery that I received for this particular movement. And it's like the Arthurian legends. So it wasn't really Norse, but there are archetypal energies, so let's go with it. Of Arthur's sword being thrown into the lake, and the lady of the lake catches the sword and she brings it down into the ground, because we had Tyr, the god who loses his sword arm, and then we have Frigg, who is the goddess of prophecy and seership and water. Well, I say water, her Largus is one of her runes, so the rune of water is one of her runes, merging together. And what I was seeing was this sense in which sometimes we have to let go of the mission that we've been carrying. We have to move with what's available and say, okay, I'm going to give up on that, I'm going to release that. And he was also talking about the way in which we can look back in the past and see the deeds of our ancestors and see these great heroic legends and think to ourselves, well, I now feel entirely inadequate and I can never live up to that mythic expectation. And the sword sort of rusts in the bottoms of the deeps because we feel unworthy to take it. So this energy was playing around the summertime. And then when Frigg's chariot, I was feeling into this Frigg's chariot energy. So she's going to move on the 2nd, so we've got a few more days, then she's going to move. Was this rising of the sword coming back out of the water. And what I was reminded of is that in the northern hemisphere, as we enter the wintering season, it's the natural time to sink down into the depths, to release what's no longer needed. I'm very much enjoying the term wintering. I'm reading a book called Wintering at the moment, which I posted in the Hearth space for people who are interested. This idea that we all go through these periods, these winter periods, which they're not always aligned to the seasons. We can winter at any time, but the winter offers that natural opportunity for us to do this. And then we emerge. But what Frigg was saying is that, and I'm feeling it as well, I don't know if you're feeling it, let me know if you're feeling it as well, is this sense of, oh, I'm emerging, woohoo! And then it's like, oh no, I'm not emerging, I'm going back down in. And it's like we're doing this diving back down into stored emotions, back down into things that we maybe didn't work out the way we thought they were, or regret, gratitudes as well, grief, these sort of moments of saying goodbye and releasing, and then we emerge again. So it's not like that winter period where you sometimes feel like it's never going to end, and you're just there and you have to be patient with it. Through this time, it almost feels as if when we let ourselves go down into those deep places, then we emerge with the shiny new sword, with the much more clarity about what's going on. So I'm really feeling that energy at the moment. And I'm also feeling that with our full moon in Thurisaz then becomes this potent energy of in Suna Star Wheel. I've put a little bit about really feeling into those passions, feeling into those, some people call it the dark places or the shadow places, but they're powerful places. They're powerful places that we might push to one side because we don't have time to deal with them, or we don't think that we're able to deal with them, or it's all just a little bit too much. And it's saying, if you are able to, now is the time to go into those places and then to emerge having done that. It's almost like that power retrieval process. For me, when I think about the northern tradition, I've trained in various shamanic practices, and certainly in core shamanism, and we do energetic power retrieval. But the more that I work within the northern tradition, the more I realize that it is very much the seeking and recovering of story as an act of power retrieval. So when we do things like working with dream, keeping our dream journey diaries, when we do past life regression work, when we do journeying on the world tree to recover stories, whether they're ours or not, if they feel like they belong with us, we belong to them, or they belong to us in some way, that is a form of power retrieval. And the Thurisaz moon offers us that possibility on the 5th. Now, there's a little bit of context to this as well. So I have mentioned already that we are in Solmonath. So this is the Anglo-Saxon lunar month. It starts at the new moon, and then we peak when we get to the full moon. So it's great, like full moon in Thurisaz energy that then carries on. So it's not like full moon and it's done. It carries on for us, this power and this meeting of the shadow, and we can see Mani, the god of the moon, being pursued by the wolf. And some people say, the wolf is there and wants to devour Mani, and it is said that it will at Ragnarok, at the end of days. But another reading is that its job is to keep him on course, to keep him on track, because otherwise he's going off in all sorts of different directions. And so these journeys into reclaiming our power, reclaiming our essence, reclaiming our stories, are journeys into meaning and purpose. It's the same with the birth runes. I was talking to a client who just sent some lovely feedback just this morning, actually, which was lovely, saying that, this sense of claiming her meaning, claiming her purpose, and finding them within the birth runes. And the birth runes each hold stories within them as well, which is why we also do runic astrology. We're moving into the power of the story of the runes that reveals and calls forth our next blooming, our next sense of purpose, our ability to stand up and face what's going on. And I have done with very congruent with yay me, very congruent with what I'm doing in the half space and in the dream wheel events at the moment, which wasn't actually if it was planned, it was intuitive knowledge that planned it, because I hadn't looked ahead at the planetary movements in any great detail when I planned these. And our theme for this month in the heart space is intuitive knowledge, so hooray, that's great. I'm working with Heimdall, and I've just done a blog article about Heimdall, and very much about stepping up and stepping forward and allowing things to end, recognizing when they have ended, and stepping back into faith and saying maybe something needs to crack wide in order for the new to emerge. So that's coming through very strongly with Heimdall, so I'll have more on that. And the Illuminate retreat launches this evening. I'm very excited about that, and the first piece that we're going to be doing this evening is a deep dive. We're going to be doing some work with our wild voices, discovering what that voice hidden deep down inside, the part of you that hasn't been told no, and hasn't been told that's not possible, or you're too idealistic, or those are dreams for children, or all of those things. And we are going to dive into the waters of our wild voices and see what they have to say to us as a form of power retrieval. So very congruent. So let me know if what I have said to you feels congruent for you, that sense of diving deep, something else comes up, and then you emerge with new power or new clarity, because that's very present for me at the moment. Now, with no further ado, let's have a look at your runes. I can see that lots of people have posted. Lovely to see all of you. Let's start with Karen. So Karen, you have Hagalaz for this week, which is a very, it's very in keeping with that energy that I've talked about. I've been playing with the links between Hagalaz and Lagus in particular, and thinking about Heimdall, this god who is said to have 9 mothers. And he's obviously a bridge keeper, and he keeps the bridges across the water. And Hagalaz is rune number 9. So when I saw 9 mothers, I was like, well, that's really interesting. It's this place of destruction. Hagalaz is a rune of destruction. It's the hail seed that comes and it destroys. But what it does is it destroys that which is no longer needed, the old husks, the old kernels, that which maybe is weak. If you think about it in terms of the winter, when the winter comes in and the cold gets into the bodies of the trees, and the trees draw their sap in, they draw their life energy deep inside, and then the cold kills the bacteria that might have formed mold or disease, and so it cleanses the tree. And then in the summer, the sap comes back out again and the tree carries on growing. So it's this withdrawal and coming back out again, and the cold as part of our evolution that keeps us going. So Hagalaz takes away the things that aren't serving us anymore. And when we're able to surrender or even become its energy, and it then reveals the next pattern. It's sometimes known as the mother rune as well, which is again when I was interested. 9 mothers in the mother rune, how fascinating. So Hagalaz is a great rune for embracing change, for maybe having that little bit of when life gets a bit tough and you're just like, now I'm just gonna laugh at this because that's really the only thing that I can do. Fine, it's Hagalaz, that's good. How can I ride this? How can I embrace the unexpected moments and allow them to reveal where that fear might be stored? That, I haven't prepared properly for that, I didn't know it was coming. Breathing into it, breathing onto it, under it, calling forth your intuitive knowledge as well, remembering that that's available to us at the moment. So what is Hagalaz perhaps saying to you about how resilient you actually are? How many storms have you weathered? And how strong have you become as a result? Here we go, here's our Hagalaz rune there. So this is the elder Futhark form. In some of the younger Futhark forms, which is the later rune rose, it's like a 6-pointed star, which is its crystalline form. When it brings the big H comes along and goes whoosh, it's like 2 Uruz runes clashing together and crushing everything between it. Whoosh. And then what is available once that has occurred? So then we have Salian with Yera. Ooh, I'm liking that. That's interesting. It's just, I was just talking about the 2 Uruz runes coming and being sort of crushing everything between them. This sense of the creation of like the diamond is the way that I always think about it with the Hagalaz rune, the pressure that's needed to create that diamond. Now Yera has also obviously got 2 sides to it. Here we go. Here's the Yera rune. But the Yera rune is different because it's the only rune that has a space between the 2 parts of the stave there. So it actually creates a space for growth. The pressure is exerted over a longer period of time, so it is a gentler force. We don't feel it as suddenly. It is much more about patience and building slowly and giving yourself room and trusting the process. All of these things come through. It's a slower energy of saying, the last season, whatever season you're in, the last season was a preparation for this moment. As a preparation for this moment, I am exactly where I need to be. And the next season will be an unfolding of all that is possible. And I don't yet need to know what that is. And Yera does say, it says, it talks about the agricultural cycle, and I think this is a theme that keeps coming up for me, and I'm probably going to be talking about it quite a lot more. Perhaps I need to do a blog article on it so I can refer people to it, around the ways that the runes talk about time and how they ask us to step into different energetic modes. So Yera asks us to step into the agricultural mode and to say there is a time and a place for everything. So work hard at the things that you have control over and that you can do something good with in the moment, and give everything else to the gods. You might imagine Sumar and Vetra, who are these the brothers. I don't know if they are brothers. I'm going to look that up. I'm not sure if it actually says, but they, the summer and winter personified, are circling each other all of the time. And you actually say, yeah, I'm just going to give that to winter and give that to summer. I'm just going to be me in the present moment. And breathing. Well, there's lots of breathing under going on. So yeah, giving yourself space, Sally Ann, and wherever possible, just saying, I'm giving this to the gods, giving this to summer and winter, whatever feels right to you, so that you can just focus on the here and the now. And Pamela, you have got Yera as well. Ooh, I'm trying really hard not to do just to go right. We've done Yera, move on. But I really struggle with it because the energy comes through, and I'm like, oh, is there something different and new there? It's a slightly more silvery, refined. There's a planning that is what I'm feeling there here for you, Pamela. So whereas with Sally Ann, there's a trust piece that's coming through with the Yera, and it's saying you're in the center, trust that everything else is happening. Pamela, I feel as if for you there is perhaps a little bit more of a sort of making friends with the two parts of the rune, and saying, right, what it's mainly the future focus. There's a sort of silver energy, and then this golden energy is like the winter and the summer coming through, which I'm quite liking, actually. It's not come through for me before in that way with the Yara rune. It's recognizing that there is a difference between these two parts. When you look at it, they look the same, don't they? But actually it's the summer and the winter, so their energies are very, very different. There's almost like a conscious, I've been talking about letting go and release. There's like a conscious mourning and a recognizing of the value of what has been, that sort of beautiful winter energy, everything that I've been talking about, as from which the summer is going to grow. So it's saying we're not giving up the old, we're not releasing it in the sense of forgetting it. We're giving thanks. So there's some gratitude work there in order to move on. It reminds me that with Frigg's Chariot and Tewaz on the 2nd, one of the pieces of advice that she always gives is she says, we can forgive. We don't need to forget, but we may well need to forgive in order to move on without carrying the burdens with us. So there's something there that I wanted to offer there to you, Pamela. And then Carolyn. Hi, Carolyn. Lovely to see you. You've got Iwas. I'm glad Iwas has come up, because I was feeling that with the strength with Karen's reading, with the Hagalaz, and I was thinking, like, Iwas wants to have a little bit of a say here as well. So these very strong, like earthy runes are coming through. So we've had Hagalaz, we've had Yera, and now we've got Iwas. So Iwas is the yew tree, sometimes symbolized as the world tree, and you can see that it also has two sort of energy forms. So Hagalaz has got these two Uruz runes crushing in together, and Yera has got the two going around the going around each other, and then Iwas has got this trunk, the trunk of the yew tree, and then it's got the energy of the roots and the energies of the branches, and obviously it can also turn. It doesn't tend to turn as much, but it sort of wants to for you, Carolyn, which is interesting. There's something almost about changing perspectives there. It's almost a sort of total upside down of sort of saying, actually, what if the roots were the branches and the branches were the roots, is what I'm feeling, and saying that would be okay. It would still be strong and in integrity. I think it's a question of if things do come up that are unexpected, or things aren't panning out the way that you planned for them to, and you need to shift it a little bit, make some decisions, do things different. It's sort of saying you can do that without giving up on the essence of what you want to achieve, that the Iwas rune is still there for you. It's almost like a staff that has two ends that have been prepared for walking, and you can look at it in a different way. I'm seeing Odin on the world tree sort of hanging upside down, and so that his feet are in the sky and his eyes are looking downwards, and he's seeing the cosmos below. And that gives him the wisdom then to when he turns the right way up again. There's a real anything that you feel like the instinct says no, I can't do that. Like, you feel that tightening of the hands a little bit, or I thought we were settled, I thought we were okay, blah, 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 all of those things. Anytime you feel that, the Iwas rune is saying, I've got you. Let this take you into almost like the dream space. Follow this idea, follow this opportunity, follow it to where it takes you, and the Iwas rune will carry you through it. There's an embracing of the unexpected and a trust, and a sort of saying, the Iwas rune says, whatever changes on the outside, you are still strong on the inside, so you will be able to make this work. I leave that with you, Carolyn. Michelle, you have got Rado. So whereas Iwaz tends to be a very rooted rune, which is why it was really interesting in Carolyn's rune that I was feeling this sort of flipping energy. Rado is a rune of movement. It's the rune of ritual. It's the rune of the road. It is the rune of stargazing, actually, as well. If you think about like runic astrology, whenever I think about runic astrology, I think, Rado is the rune I go to. It reminds me of the gods setting the sun and moon in their chariots to tell the time for the worlds. Always reminds me of Rado. I always think that's why I ended up doing runic astrology, because my first thread, my like warrior self rune, is in Rado. So it's like almost like inevitable that Rado was going to express itself in some way in my life. And I am actually just seeing like a very steady walking pace there, Michelle. There is similar to Sally Ann with that trust, but it's on a more of a micro scale, so it's more thinking about that on a day-to-day, whereas with Sally Ann it's sort of like stretching out and saying that things will come and they will unfold as the year unfolds. There is a trusting your body, trusting where you're going, trusting your instinct comes through quite strongly as well. Trusting that you are prepared. That's coming through very strongly. That says that yes, I'm prepared. I've got all of my equipment. I'm not going on this journey unready. I'm not going on this journey without having the resources and the backup that I need. So what for you? There's almost get yourself into momentum. Start the doing. Get yourself into a lovely rhythm. And anytime you feel that need to pause, it's like you're saying, okay, I'm not stopping. I'm doing that thing that walkers do when they just stop and they take their bearings. So anytime that you feel like I'm not sure what's going on, no, you're just a walker taking your bearings. Maybe there's a fork in the road. What equipment do I have that will help me to make that decision? This is one of the pieces that I teach as a coach when I work with people in coaching, and we look at analysis paralysis. That moment where you can't decide. And so we go through those stages of, okay, what information do I need to take this decision? And you list the information that you need to take the decision, and you get more information. Those are your next steps if you don't have that information. And if that information isn't available to you, that's when you trust your gut and you do it anyway. Because the only way you will learn whether the decision was right or wrong is once you've taken it. That is simply a fact. Horrible as it may sound, we think, but I want to know. I really need to know. How will I know? How will I know? And if you can't know in the present moment because you've explored all of those, the only way to know is to step into the future. So the Rado rune is offering that in most circumstances for you. You are ready. You have everything you need. The past has prepared you, and you are in tune, and go for it and move. And if you don't know, move anyway. And then you can backtrack if you need to. Follow the road, see where it takes you, and you can always come back. Very few things that we can't come back from. Marie, you have Issa. Oh, I love it. We're getting some contrasts now. So we were having some lovely complementary runes. We're getting some contrasts. We've got the movement of Rado contrasted beautifully with the stillness of the Issa rune. Oh, I can almost hear music there, Marie, as I'm listening to Issa here, having a little chat with me. Here's the Issa rune. So the Issa rune is the rune of ice. It's the rune of the bridge. I'm going to share with you a little piece that I've been meditating on in this work, preparing for Heimdall. And so the Issa rune is often considered to be the rune of the ego, the rune of the self, of the conscious self, our idea of ourselves. Comes from the Issa rune, and this was brought about. It's maybe there within the rune poems a little bit with the traditional rune poems. It talks about the blind man needing to be led. It's that sense of when we don't know ourselves, we have to trust the leadership of others, which is why I think that's why the Northern tradition is so important for those of us who feel a call to it, because it's a way of discovering self. That's what you're doing. You're discovering self and saying, I trust what I know inside. And so the rune poem sort of suggests this sense of that self-knowledge is one of our most valuable tools. And then this was taken on in the Armanen Futhark, which is the modernist, is that a term? Modernist? The most modern of the Futharks. It's only a couple of 100 years old, channeled by a man called Guido von List. You'll have to join Awaken if you want to know more. You can look him up. A slightly dubious character, but nonetheless, the Armanen Futhark was very popular, and a lot of the things that we work with, like the the starred Guldra and the colours with the runes, a lot of that comes from the work that he or the people who came after him, a lot of it was the people who came after him, followed. And they talk about this idea of the Issa rune being the ego, which is why I do the meditation with people, the I am meditation. Now, what Heimdall is talking about is the way in which our intuition, because he's talking about intuitive knowledge, the way in which our intuition, our ability to reach out and then draw everything in, bearing in mind he's the God who is a listening God, he's a seeing God, so he's in deep meditation and he's listening for everything, and then he draws it in and he synthesizes it, and he says that any listening is happening all the time. The universe is always listening to itself, but it is consciousness that creates the meaning from that and the evolution that occurs because of that. And what he's this image that keeps coming to me, and I'm hoping that it'll be revealed maybe through our story session or through our meditation and embodiment sessions in the half space circle, is around those moments when we go into overwhelm and the bridge cracks because we can't process all of the information that is coming in. So he talks about the bridge cracking, and he talks about his horn, when he blows his horn at the end of Ragnarok, is almost this deliberate cracking of the bridge to cease the old ways and come into something new. So he's talking about the times when we don't want, when our intuitive knowledge, when we don't have access to it, is the way I would say it, because we're overwhelmed by everything that is coming in, and that need to step away into be in the space of quiet, which is what Issa often represents, that moment of retreat. But it also sometimes, he says, sometimes the shattering is needed. And I will stop in a minute, but I honestly, I'm thinking about this a lot, Marie, so you're going to have to take what you can from what I've been, what's coming through here. I feel as if this is maybe for all of us as well. There is an iceberg that has just cracked off from the Antarctic here. Absolutely enormous iceberg. I've been reading about all the stories, and most of these the most scientifically based stories that I've read have said that actually this iceberg, although it's enormous, is a naturally occurring chasm that has occurred, not caused by global warming, whereas almost all of the others coming through are caused by global warming. This one isn't. And it's that discernment that the Issa rune offers us when we allow ourselves to move into spaces of quiet and then to go back out into the world and to receive. And this is something for me, as you know, I work very closely with a lot of highly sensitive people, working on how do we claim those as superpowers. And it's saying when we are in the quiet space and we regroup and we regather, we are doing that so that we can go back out into the world. We're not doing that so that we can stay like cocooned forever. It's about finding that resilience, building the ego strong enough that it can go back out into the world, and knowing that sometimes when we are feeling that true discernment, that the cracking of the old, the releasing, has a purpose. Sometimes it does not, but sometimes it does. That sometimes we shatter like for a purpose, and we emerge from that shattering moment. So it's quite deep, Marie. But yeah, take from that what you need. What I'm feeling for you is it's that discernment piece around knowing, when is this too much, or actually when is it that the universe is offering me an evolution moment, and I am actually stronger than I thought I was. And we need to learn to do that all of the time. I'm talking about diving and emerging. For you, it's about like diving into perhaps it's situations that feel slightly uncomfortable and recognizing that you're actually stronger than you think in coping with them, or more than that, being able to offer your gifts through them, and then saying, I withdraw, not because I'm afraid or because I'm overwhelmed, but because I choose to, is what's coming through there. Then we have Candice. Morning, Candice. I hope my car will be fixed soon. I have trust. It's a deep dive. It's another deep dive from which we shall emerge with our swords victorious, and all will be well. So you have the Northiz rune, which again, we're getting these high contrast runes. You've got with Northiz, which is the rune of, there's a rune of fire. It's a rune of fire. It's a rune of the fire lit in those times when we are stuck in the place of ice, when we feel like, we become almost uncomfortable in ourselves, in our skins, in our being. And then we light the Northiz fire and we say, yes, what's next? And as I'm speaking, I'm almost feeling this up. I'm certainly having quite a few east and north moments of them at the moment. This sort of golden energy is igniting itself like under my ribs and almost like reminding me to breathe, I'm going, that is power. The power of the breath. I was talking about the way in which words and story reclamation are forms of power retrieval. And obviously, if we can't breathe, we can't tell those stories. And we can't breathe them in either. We can't utter, which is the gift of Odin, that ability to utter. So I'm actually feeling that. It's sometimes we feel the northeast energy very deep in our bellies. It feels like oh God, it's the beacon, the signal saying all is not well, all is not well, alert, alert, with the northeast rune, and we go, stupid northeast rune, how dare you? But actually, it's not the northeast rune's fault. The northeast rune is our body instinct saying something's wrong here. And what I would like you to imagine is then, just to do the piece that I've just said, is that allow that northeast energy to rise up and almost to lift, to sort of become coated under the ribs, and to lift your lungs up. So that anytime you feel a block, anytime you feel like I can't speak what I want to say, and I'm not sure what's coming through here, move into that energy. And it might be that journaling, I've been talking about this, I know that you're coming to the Illuminate Retreat, Candice. That anytime you're doing that journaling or journeying even, or doing your dream diary, or you're feeling like, yes, I'm moving into another area where I'm in the deeps. When we do this work, we are going into the deeps, but we are doing so as creatures able to journey into the depths of the Lago's space, into the depths of the water space, and we can breathe there when we give ourselves the time and the space and the opportunity. So it's recognizing that the northeast energy is yours, so you can channel it where you need it to go, working on the breath. And again, perhaps this is why your rune came after Marie's. There's that feeling into discernment then of saying, what action do I need, with the northeast rune being the rune of need, what action do I need to take in this moment is what comes through. So very, very feeling into the body, which is why moving from the northeast rune as being quite not hard, like a knot that forms and then it pulls. That's what the northeast energy can feel like. You can get a friction, and by allowing it more space and allowing its golden energy to come out and its flickering light to start to illuminate the rib cage and move up perhaps into the back of the neck, up into the well of dreams, the chakra at the back of the head there, we're embracing that northeast energy, saying I'm not stepping away from you, I'm embracing you as a friend. And then Meggie, you have Bacano. Oh, I'm enjoying this. And who's coming up for me with that is Loki. So Northeast is one of the runes very associated with Loki. He's often associated as the god of wildfire, although technically speaking that might be a mistranslation. His name actually means the maker of knots, which also ties in with the north, as if you think about the knot that I've just been talking about. But there is that, the wildfire energy can come through as well. But he's also very strongly associated with the Bacano rune. It's seen, Loki is mentioned in one of the rune poems, and it's seen as a rune that can provide like camouflage and protection. It's a protective rune, but in a different way to Algis, for example, or Northeast. It's almost like the Thurisaz. It's almost like the opposite of Thurisaz. It protects through trickery and subterfuge and illusion. It's literally, you can imagine people people who get there. That they get the net and the webbing, I want to say, they're under the webbing and then they stick the branches out and they're literally camouflaged. So the Bacano rune is offering that ability, saying use my energy when you want to feel safe. Feel that green, nurturing, like mossy, deep Bacano energy and draw it up and feel it sort of at your edges, like a little living, like a little cocoon. But it's not what's the word that I'm looking, but it's very like fertile soil that you're in there. There is a play about it. It's almost like playing hide and seek, It's not a, I'm running away. You know, it's a, I'm running away. It's that type of energy that is coming through. So there's a playfulness there with it. I'm almost feeling like, I know that you do lives and you're out there, Meggie, some of the time, and I'm wondering whether it's almost that offering that Bacano energy as a cloak to go around you sometimes. And to step back into as well. So it might be, when you think about it, we open our spaces, don't we? We open up our spaces to do readings like this, like I do for Middle Earth readings. And the Bacano energy, we say, oh, help me. It calls in our Desir circles, the circle of feminine ancestors, and it draws them in, and they can draw the veils around us and hold us in that space. So I'll leave that one with you there, Maggie. And then we have Esther. So you've got Issa as well. So I spent quite a long time with Marie on Issa, Esther. Yeah, I feel as if that's, we're good. We're good with that one with Issa. So have a listen. If I think you were already there, because your comments quite soon after Marie's as well, that you will have heard that that Issa wisdom too. There is very much about that intuitive knowledge and being the bridge and recognizing discernment, which I know, because you have North is, I think, don't you, as well as one of your birth runes? I'm fairly certain that's right. We were talking about instinct words, we're trusting the instinct. So that using Issa and working with that, with the Issa and North's partnership, could be really powerful for you. Then share, you have got Gibo, the rune of gift giving and exchange and oaths made. Ooh, now this is an interesting one. Now I'll tell you one of the reasons why this is interesting for me. So we've got Gibo here. Now I'm going to be doing a live later this week. Thank you, Jean, for requesting. You put up a really helpful question about Merc staves and bright staves. And obviously with Gibo, you can turn it, and unless you sort of put it like a plus sign, which is actually quite difficult, most of the time it lands looking like this, and it looks the same. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't have a Merc stave side. And while we're at this hinge time that I've been talking about, this sort of diving and then emerging, the Gibo rune is counselling. It's that sense of looking at promises, commitments, vows, intentions, even things like friendships, and saying, okay, you've tied your energy to these things for the previous season, and that's fine and that's good. But now is a time to review them and to say, what am I going to let go of? When the Gibo energy becomes, it can become stale. Like, oh, I'm still holding on to that, but we haven't actually messaged for ages and I need to just let go of it, you know. Have a look at that. Sometimes we have like a whole stack of like hundreds and hundreds of emails, and we know that there's like one or two in there that we really want to respond to some reason. It's that discernment piece going on, and so we leave all of the rest of them because I need to sift through all of them because there might be others like that. It's almost saying trust those instincts. So if you've got, you could think about emails, you could think about messages, you could think about intentions, you know, all of those things. It's that sense of which we worry about throwing out the baby with the bathwater, and so we hold on to everything. No, and what Gibo is saying is, in order for you to move forward in a freer way and to be able to receive more from the universe, because the Gibo rune is also the rune of gift giving, that release process is important. So trust yourself that with your, let's call it your energetic inbox. It doesn't have to be your email inbox, but it's all of those things that are playing in your mind, that the things that are important have stuck. So get a piece of paper, write down those things. There's that email from ages ago, and there's this, I said that I would do this, I would go to the car boot with a friend, and whatever it is, write the ones that feel like they're like, this is really important. And don't start to do it as in, now I'm going to try and remember everything. Do it as in, energetically, where am I pulled? What comes? Feel it in your heart, not your head. So if something floats up and you're like, oh no, I said I would do the thing, allow it to float towards you. And if you feel it tugging at the heart, then fine, write it down and say, I recommit to this, and then do it. You know, anything that feels like, oh yeah, I should do that, I should do this, and it feels like it's coming from the head space, just don't do it. You can send a no if you want to, or you can just go, if it's really important, they're going to get back to me. They're going to get back to you. No? So it's a release. The Gibo is asking for this release, and it's saying, oh, I've got lots of new juicy gifts to give to you, Cher, so you need to let go of some of the other ones, otherwise you're not going to be able to carry them. So put some of them down. And then Flora, you have Dargaz. So interesting with the shapes here. We've got Gibo. So remember that shape of Gibo. And then I'm going to bring Dargaz up, if I can find it. The rune of the day. And it's like sudden transformation. It's very different. You know, I was talking about time and energy in the Yera rune. So Dargaz is different because it's the rune of the day. Here we go. It's like sealed. You can see it's like sealed. It's like, and go. I've received, I'm receiving, I'm giving, I'm in the moment. Because it's the rune of the day. Dargaz is that moment when you have a conviction so strong that something is going to happen that you just know it. You just know it's going to happen. And time is irrelevant to the Dargaz rune. What was it that I was thinking about in this context? I can't remember what it was, but I was remembering I did a vision board. I did a vision board back when I was 25, I want to say. Quite a few pieces on it. And I got everything on that vision board manifested itself over the following 2 years, except for one thing that I was just like, work at it, I'll work at it, I'll work at it, I'll work at it. And I realised that it's going to happen. It will happen, not because I've seen it. But the more that I keep pushing at it and going, will happen, it will, that's not going to help, because the Dargaz rune already knows that it's going to happen, and there will be a moment when I step through into it, and if I stop pushing at it and just let myself receive from the Dargaz rune, it will come. It's very much that manifestation thing of when you go, I really want the thing, I really want the thing, and then you start to stare at it too hard. It's like, the thing, and you don't give the space for the Dargaz rune to happen, which is why I wanted to bring up the Gibo rune, because in this context, and Dargaz has many meanings, but this is what's coming through for me, Flora, at the moment, is that sense in which the Gibo rune is the promise, the Dargaz rune is the structure holding it. So there can be times when we go, this is going to happen. And then we feel like it's our responsibility to make it happen, rather than saying, how could I invite that in more fully? I don't need to do everything, but how could I invite that in more fully? Is a more powerful way of manifesting than, we'll make this work, or we'll make it work. So what am I feeling into here? There is a sense, I think, for me, of, again, there's a discernment piece here, Flora, because I know that, again, you've got that very strong intuition, and we're really feeling intuition of saying, okay, there are things that I really want to bring forward in my life. Right now, with the Dargaz rune, I'm simply going to claim that I know they're going to happen, and I don't need to push through into them yet. Okay, so then Suzanne, you've got yours coming. So you have got Yera, Ren has got Dargaz. So Ren, I'm just going to stick with you for a minute with the Dargaz rune, if there's anything else coming through. The only actual thing that you could do, and this goes for Flora as well, is if you're looking at intuition, I was talking about heart space and head space for Share. Yes, it was Share. Dargaz is slightly different because it quite likes the headspace, but you could use the heart as well, and I'm quite enjoying that too. So you can draw the Dargaz rune over your third eye, increases our psychic abilities, works really, really well. You can draw it over your heart in order to increase your instinctive and your intuitive abilities, so less the knowing and more the feeling. And that's a really powerful rune to work with. If you are going to do this, remember to stop doing it as well, because the Dargaz rune, imagine it's a bit like a very powerful chakra opener. Likes to do that. Opens the chakras up. I know chakras are not Northern tradition. You could say energy centres if you want to, but it opens up the different energy centres of the body, which is great for in the moment. What does my heart say? Draw the Dargaz rune over your heart. Breathe into it. And then visualise these two little things stopping being like a gateway and becoming doors that close shut. We close them shut afterwards. So maybe have a little bit of a play. That might be for Flora as well as for Ren. So Suzanne, we've got your Yera rune. Yeah, I think that there is I know you're doing a lot of healing work and a lot of release work at the moment. What I'm feeling with this is, with Sally Ann, and because we've had Yera twice, there's that gold energy and that silver energy. I feel as if there's like something stuck in the old energy, the winter energy, that is going to, it's almost like it's shadow or it's double is occurring in the summer energy because of it, and it's just being carried. This sort of same energy is being carried from season to season to season. So there's a release that needs to be done. I know that we've chatted a little bit about this before. It's just come through really strongly. I can sort of feel it down my spine a little bit there. Yeah, so if you don't have the means of doing that, message me, Suzanne. We can talk about it, because I think it needs to be done. Yeah, that's literally all that's coming through for that one there. If you want to listen, obviously I think that you were there from the beginning, so you might have we did Yarrow twice as well, so have a little play with that, because after that release there's more in there from the Yarrow rune, I feel. But that's what it's basically saying, is there's a release to be done. Sunita, so we've got Keenaz for you. Let's just move that out a little bit. That was quite physical. We are. There is something similar, actually, Sunita, for you with the Keenaz rune, and what I have with Yarrow is slightly different. I'm just very aware of it. There are times when our bodies manifest something that's happened, in the past, that's happened energetically, or when like a symptom in the body is referencing a more underlying cause. Now, I should have mentioned it at the beginning, but I'm mentioning it now. I'm actually interviewing a very lovely lady called Karen Chappell, who is known as the Pain Detective, on the 2nd of February. We're coming back to our In Conversations with piece for this month. And she works so much with intuitive knowledge. I thought, she's going to be a really great person to come and bring her experience. I've seen her working with people and standing behind them and feeling sort of alignment in their bodies in order to help them and support them. And I'll post a little bit more about Karen, because she's a great person. I'm going to be speaking to her later today to sort of finalise what we're going to be talking about. But she's coming, and that was just a reminder to me of the way in which everything is interconnected. And the Keenaz rune is a rune of manifestation in a different way to the Yarrow rune. So it's the manifestation, like in the moment of I knock myself and then a bruise comes out, like the flowering of the bruise comes out. And we learn over time how to go, I remember that I knocked myself and now the bruise has come out. It's like my children come home from school and we're like, how did that happen? They're like, I don't know. How can you not know? But they haven't always made that mental connection. And I feel as if, what's the Keenaz rune trying to say there? It's quite a lot of, I think it is about cause and effect to a certain extent. It's just talking about those sort of tangible cause and effect moments, and asking you to maybe bring a little bit of mindfulness to that in terms of how you're caring for yourself, the words that you're using about yourself, the food that you're putting into your body, all of those sorts of things, and just being really in partnership with Keenaz and saying, I am putting in, if you imagine it's like a little crucible, that you're like a smith at the forge, and it's like I'm putting in these precious metals and materials, and what's going to come out is going to be brilliant. So the Keenaz rune is in asking you to work with that, to sort of say, it's just really bringing some mindfulness into that. So have a play with your Keenaz rune there. Very much about cause and effect, manifestation. We are the result of what we do, and there's a celebration there. I feel like as well. It's not a saying, "Oh, I've done really badly." It's actually saying, "No, there's a celebration." And what could you do as a master smith? What could you do even more at your forge? And then Elaine, you have Largus. So we've got the Keenaz rune of fire and the forge and the smith, and it's followed by Largus, the cooling waters. We talked about Largus earlier, didn't we? Because I was talking about Frigg, and we were looking at Tyr and Frigg and the Lady of the Lake with her Largus energy. Ooh. There's a it's almost recognizing for me the treasures that Largus offers, both in the deeps and on the surface. We often focus on the journeying into the deeps, that the treasures rise up from underneath and we carry them to the surface. But it's the Largus rune here is saying, but there's also the beauty of the glittering waters upon the surface. There's a name for Freya it begins with an M. That's going to really annoy me because I can't remember it now. It's one of her names, and it means the light upon the water. You know, it's this wonderful phrase, bearing in mind that amber is also sacred to Freya, and our ancestors thought that it came from the water because it used to be washed up on by, you know, the tree would rot down, and then the sap, the amber, would be left, and so it would be washed up. What they call that, like Baltic amber. So there is these gifts of the sea. So it's almost saying with the Lagus rune, as you're doing your work with Lagus, make sure that you are open into the gifts, not just of the deeps, but also of the surface, and remembering those and reflecting on them, and having that those moments of play and joy and the light upon the water. Then we have Jean, who has Wunyo Jean. Really lovely. Ooh. Feeling into the Wunyo rune. At the end of the first 8, the rune of joy and family and kith and kin, there is a real belonging with the Wunyo rune. Here we go. Here's Wunyo. It is the safety that we all need before we go out on the next adventure. You know, everybody needs it. Everybody needs a sense of belonging, and it can be belonging to a tribe. It can be a belonging to a purpose. You know, this sense of the purpose has claimed me, and so I belong in it, and then we can travel wherever we want to then because we have that purpose. For some people it's belonging to the land. So I think, Jean, for you it's maybe about doing that piece of saying, where do I find my belonging? Where do I find my belonging? And that's so that it raises up. You know, it comes up into the conscious mind, as well as being in the subconscious. Bring it up into the conscious mind, and then it will allow you to travel further. It will allow you to open to more adventures because the Wunyo rune will be embedded deep, and you will know how valuable it is and how important it is. And you'll also know that when I am on my adventures, the Wunyo rune for this year, and I think this is important. It's like we are evolving all the time, so your Wunyo this year may be different to your Wunyo last year, and that's okay. But you need to carry that Wunyo energy with you. So when Hargalaz comes along and tries to destroy stuff, what you've already done is you said, where's my Wunyo energy? You know, my sap. You know, you brought it in to you, and then you can have the adventure happening outside you. So it's bringing a little bit of consciousness to your what brings you joy. You know, and how you carry that with you. Then Erica, you have Perthrow, lovely cauldron, the alchemical cauldron of Perthrow. I'm imagining now like a boat on the water, and there's maybe somebody else is rowing because you're not rowing in this, Erica. You are just lying down and enjoying being in the boat, and it's rocking you like a cradle. It's reminding me of Elaine's Lagus a little bit, that sense of which when we trust the waters, they rock us gently. You know, sometimes they don't. Ran is reminding me, the goddess of the deep. Sometimes they are buffeting us and in the storm. But when we do have those moments where we're able to lie in the boat and we have somebody there that we trust, and the water is gentle, just go with it. It's, you know, absolutely go with that, and allow yourself to sink then down into the deeps, like you're deep sea diving in the unconscious mind and down into the realms of the collective consciousness to draw up treasure. And Perthrow draws everything to the surface. It draws up old woundings, challenges, stuff that needs to be healed, but it also brings up treasures and ideas and possibilities and opportunities, and that's what I feel is there for you, Erica, is the treasure. So it's saying, again, you don't need to journey out in order to claim the treasure, you need to relax in. And then Sue, you have Iwaz. So we've done Iwaz once already with the staff, and there's the flipping energy, wasn't there, for Carolyn? I'm not feeling the flipping energy so much for you. I'm feeling that watery Perthrow energy is still at play there with the Iwaz rune. Real well of weird, sitting by the tree with your back against the tree, looking out over the waters of weird. There is it's a moment of claiming. and saying, I don't need to do anything, I don't need to fix anything, I don't need to change anything, I don't need to move forward, I don't need to move backwards. I have everything that I need. Everything that I need in this moment is I'm exactly as I should be. And I would suggest, actually, Sue, for you, if you are able to, go to the my Elder Food Art pages and go and do the Iwaz meditation that's there with the tree. I think that might be really helpful for you. It's quite an energetic rune. It's the energy of Iwaz that's calling forward and saying, yeah, come and have a go of that meditation. So try it and see what you think. Darren has Lagus. So we've done a little bit of Lagus. The different gifts of water with Lagus. I'm feeling that Lady of the Lake coming forward again. And I can see a tree growing as well. It's like this very young tree. Opening up, growing up, reaching up into the sky. It feels as if there are things that you may have planted a while ago and perhaps you didn't recognize them, or they seemed quite small, and suddenly they're taking on their own life and they're becoming bigger than you'd anticipated. It's that growth energy of Lagus, which is what I'm feeling, sort of fertile growth energy. So it's like, don't be surprised if things that didn't seem important suddenly come up again. I'm also seeing it's just like the sort of romantic stuff. Perhaps it's because we're in the dream space so much at the moment, of like the trees that you read of in Tolkien, these sort of trees of light that hold the orbs of light within them, and like how beautiful they are, and sort of this slender beauty and grace to them. So it's saying that sometimes the power is not in the strength like the Iwaz rune. Sometimes it is in the beauty that means that we treat things with reverence. Yeah, so there's to a certain extent there's also a letting go piece there, Darren, around saying, okay, things are growing and they're developing and they're changing, and maybe they're changing faster than I'd anticipated, or it's going in a different direction to what I anticipated, and that protector comes out. And it's actually recognizing that sometimes fragility and beauty and what can be perceived to be as weakness is a strength in its own right. So there's a trust there, a trust sort of saying, you're not the warrior, you are the gardener. Tend to watch, enjoy, have pleasure in. Yes, not the warrior, the gardener. Then Chen, you have got Isa. Hello. So we've spent quite a long time on Isa. So hopefully you've got some good things. You've rooted some good things from that there, Chen. So we've got our Isa rune again. There is a real standing your ground piece with this one that's coming through. It's not even, with the Iwaz rune, we often stand our ground because we feel those roots, and we're just like, yeah, this is my place, this is what I'm doing. Isa is saying, I'm standing my ground because I deserve it. Yeah, that's what's coming through. Not because I have to prove myself or because I've got particular experience or anything like that. It's simply, I'm going to, because I can, because I'm me. And that's okay. There's a real strong claiming of power there. So have a look for opportunities to do that this week. Opportunities to do that this week. To claim the power of the Isa rune. And to remember that when we do that, we give other people permission to do that as well. So strong Isa comes up, against another strong Isa. They're going to be more comfortable together, You don't need to have reasons to or convince other people in order to take decisions, is what's coming through there. Lauren, how is everyone? Everyone is good, I think. I am well, thank you. You have got Iwaz, but on its blank face side. Interesting. Let's see if I can interpret that. So here we've got Iwaz. This way up. With the blank face. I'm not sure with that one. Maybe it meant that it came face down first, and then when you turned it over, it was on its side. So with the Iwaz, I'm literally getting, I'm thinking about rhizomes. That's why I laughed, because I was like, well, where did that come from? So when we have a tree, the Iwaz tree, it has a trunk, and it's reaching upwards, reaching downwards. It's all very structured. Then when it's on its side, it's become a rhizome for me, which is a plant without a trunk. It doesn't have a it's a bit like, I'm going to get this wrong, is moss a rhizome? I'm not sure, but it spreads out in all directions all of the time. You know, maybe like lichens, I want to say. It has no center. All of it is. And so it's sort of saying with things like, how do I start this? And when you get the question, how do I start this? What's the structure? It's sort of saying it doesn't matter where you start, just start. That the energy will be available to you wherever you go, whatever you do. That you don't need to plan everything out and have a very clear, this is how it's all going to work, because it's organic the way that it's going to the way that it's going to work, and it's going to draw on the life force from the sky and the earth anyway, and it will extend outwards this way. So I think that might be to do with projects and intentions and things that you want to get done, and almost, we were talking about analysis paralysis earlier. It's a sort of similar thing to that, and it's saying you don't have to have everything planned in order to move forward, because what you're going to do is a rhizomatic structure. And so the next piece, you might even start doing something over here, and then something else comes over here, and then it will all interconnect at some point. And that's fine. There was a philosopher called Deleuze who wanted to write a book that you could open and read at any point, which always sounded better in theory than I think it was in practice. But that's the idea of a rhizome, is you can start anywhere and create your own. Be in creativity is what IWAS is offering at this point. There is life force in that for you. Morning, Lisa. You have Yera, the rune of the year, of success. There's a slowness there. I think we've done Yera 3 times now, Lisa, so I'm just feeling it. I'm not feeling anything more there. It is, I would have a listen to what I've given to people around the idea of using summer and winter as friends, of distinguishing their energies, of just making sure that there's nothing that's stuck in the back and that needs to be released. So it's really using this time. It's saying if you use this time well for releasing, doing those deep dives, and merging, then you're going to be carried forward with the Yera rune. So there's a trust that's coming through as well. But it feels quite, I don't want to say practical, that's not what I mean. I can feel like Frigg just sort of nodding. There's something sovereign about it. You know, like I am going to release the old and step into the new, and that's my path. That's what's going to happen moving forward with the Yera rune. So it feels very stable, but it feels like, yeah, you don't need to worry because you are the point of stability. So tend to the old stuff and the new will unfold. And then April, you have got Elas. Other people, you might know that as Algiz. The rune here, it's the rune of protection, of connection to the higher self. Have a little read of the article that I've just done Heimdall, April, which I posted in the group. There's some interesting stuff there. I'm really feeling into the way in which Algiz winds. It draws in support from lots of different places. The 3 prongs, which are often seen as being like the 3 colours of the rainbow bridge. It's that sense in which sometimes, I say sometimes, but most of the time, in order to be in our fullest power, we rely on the support that we have created around us, on the support network that we have created around us, and that there's no shame in that. It is simply a balancing. You can see it as being like Heimdall perhaps offering this balance and saying sometimes we stand in the masculine energy, we're in our sort of Tewaz mode, where we want to be doing things ourselves in that individual achievement focused energy, and sometimes we want to draw in and say, I want to do this, who's going to help me? Just the feminine mode. And when we are standing in our fullest power, we are able to do both. So first of all, it's recognizing, maybe do some journaling on what support is actually available to me already, what's there. And you could think about this emotionally, you could think about it spiritually. If you work with guides, you might want to give some thanks to them, know that they are there for you and supporting you. And then you could look at what support do I not have that I need to bring in. This is why I do coaching sessions, one-to-one coaching sessions as well for people, if it feels like, oh, you know, I'm being given an indication by the runes of what I need to do, but I might need a little bit of practical human support to do that. So, you know, that's always available, but you can look at your own support network and say, what's right for me now that's going to help me to reach up and be supported in what I'm doing at the moment. Candice says, what you're saying really resonates with me right now. I've been releasing a lot lately. I am looking forward to the Tonight ceremony as well, Candice. Sally says, I love this. Wonderful. Karen says, again, you've made it so appropriate. Good. That is great. As does Pamela. Carolyn says, I wrote it down and will keep your words in mind. Can feel that I might need that during the week, even when I don't know why yet. Michelle, now I have done your radar rune, so have a little listen into that. Flora, regarding Guido von List, more than slightly dubious, I would say. Yes, he was. I'm not going to go into that in this, what's the word? I'm not going to go into that in this live, but absolutely. But I think it is worth us knowing the origins of the runes, even if they can feel slightly uncomfortable to us. That is obviously the newest of the Futhaks. It's not often spoken about, and it is because it was not, his work was not used very well, and he claimed the Von title, but he didn't have it. So yes, he was what's the word I'm looking for? No, I can't think of it. But yes, Flora, I totally appreciate it. It's a big topic in its own right. Marie says, thank you. Maggie says, wear glasses with a nose and moustache. Yes, this resonates. Unuseful. Good. Candice, the reading was so in sync right now with me. You've been having rib pain this morning and it's actually started to lift. Good. I'm really, really glad. That's great. Good. I can see that Michelle has been reassured that her reading was done. Flora said that's a wonderful reading. The interview sounds interesting. Yeah, I hope so. Freya was Mardel. Thank you, Flora. Thank you. I'm very glad that we've had you today. You've given some really useful clarifying pointers there for us, so thank you, Flora. And Sue says, this is true for me at the moment. I'll do the meditation. And Lauren, you did mean face down and upright. So when it's face down, for me, often it means something that is it's a more hidden influence that's worth paying attention to, and you might need a little bit of almost like support in unpacking it. It might be quite a new thing to come through. I'm glad it's a good reading and it's reassuring. And April says it resonates. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everybody. It has been lovely to see all of you. I know that I'm seeing some of you at the Illuminate retreat this evening. There is still time to book. I've got my systems up and running now so that you will get your joining information automatically. Some people will know I was a bit worried about that and taking any late bookings because of that, but that seems to have resolved itself. So you can still book. There is still time. And I will be doing my live on Heimdall in the half space this week. We have our In Conversation with Karen Chappell coming up, and I'm also going to be doing a live about Merc staves and Bright staves. And what else? And if you are not a member of the Half Space Circle already, there is certainly time to join. We are going to be doing our first circle on Friday, working with Heimdall. He has given me a reading called The Nine Mothers, which I'm slightly nervous that we're going to be doing 9 runes, so it could be a long session, but it will be fun regardless. So I look forward to seeing many of you through the course of the week. Take care and blessings to you all.